Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, as we continue the conversation on the future of Nigeria, we have a top female Nigerian politician, also an outstanding journalist, the former managing director of the Niger Delta Development Commission. I am excited today to welcome my sister, friend and colleague, Ibim Semenitari, to Inside Sources. Ibim, you are welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you, Laolu. Although I don't know this top Nigerian politician business, but...
Well, you know, people say that even I'm a politician. So if they say that I'm a politician, maybe you are. Well, we are all in a political space. And that's why this conversation is important. Mm-hmm. If you look at where the country is today, would you say that we are on course towards that great Nigeria that all of us have a vision of?
You know, Laulu, I like to be an eternal optimist, but in recent times, I've almost lost my optimism, and I don't think it's a good thing. But that appears to me to be where the bulk of Nigerians are right now. So people who had sworn by Nigeria are beginning to wonder what's really going on. And that's something that should trouble us and should trouble everybody who is in leadership or at any level in this country. When Nigerians begin to lose the little faith and hope they had in their country, we should worry. But the good thing again about losing hope and about hard times is that it perhaps forces a rethink of what we've been doing and what we're not quite doing right. Yesterday I was at an event and we're singing the Old New National Anthem.
Okay.
And one of the things that anthem does for me, honestly, is literally sound like a prayer. And maybe that's where all of us are in Nigeria today. We're praying. So maybe every time we sing the national anthem, we're praying loud enough. And maybe God, the heavens and nature will hear us. Because truly, I don't know. I think that Nigeria needs recalibration. Truly. But somewhere also say that Nigerians have a never die spirit. So maybe this is one time our resilience, our never die spirit will come to the fore. And maybe somebody somewhere will see that things are going south and would want to make a difference.
So I like your opening remarks. So what do you think has to happen to have that recalibration? You know, what are the topmost agenda in your own view?
I think that the first thing that should happen is that Mr. President needs to inspire hope. The fact that he's picked a tagline that says renewed hope. Yeah. But I think he needs to now sit down and break that down. What does hope mean to the average Nigerian today?
Right.
What does it actually mean? And this is not a conversation his aides can actually have. This is something he needs to sit and ask himself. That in terms of legacy, when I'm done, what would I be remembered by? And the truth is, aides can't determine that.
Absolutely.
Because legacy is a personal thing.
Absolutely.
It's something you tell yourself, I want to be remembered as having done this. And it's not something that sycophants can give you. It's not something that friends can tell you. It's not even something your child can tell you. That's something that introspection does. You sit down and you say, you know what? I'm going to listen to all of the conversation that is coming from people who are not my friends. You know, all of the conversation in the room. Let me put all of that on this table. And in a moment of reflection alone, ask myself, what do I want to leave behind? That's the first thing he has to do. The minute he can inspire hope, a lot of other things will fall into place.
So if you were to make the call, Ibim, what are those things that he needs to do? One or two things that he needs to do that can inspire hope? Which is the name of his agenda, like you said.
Honestly speaking, Laulu, Nigerians are literally unable to eat. Okay, so I'm not talking of 3 square meals. Nobody's discussing 3 square meals. We're not even discussing 3 round meals.
Wow.
We're talking about 1 meal a day.
One good meal?
1 good meal a day. 1 meal even. Don't forget the good.
Wow.
Because the cost of Garri, which is our staple, I come from the south. the cost of Garri has gone up. People are paying 22,000 naira a basin of Garri.
Okay.
They used to buy it at 6,000.
And now it's 22,000.
So that it's as simple. I want to break it down to that very basic thing. Garri was something that if you didn't have money for soup, you would give your children Garri, they would drink it without sugar.
We hold their stomach, as they say.
Yes. Garri was something that people would eat. They would put Maggi in water and add pepper and eat the Garri. Now they can't.
Wow.
Now they can't. So the first thing, therefore, is the issue of food security. Because if people can't even eat, what are we going to do? And thank you, 20 trailers of rice, really? You send those 20 trailer loads into, it won't even get to Omagwa, the beginning of rice, it will finish. So it's got to be a bit more than that. It's got to be looking at how we can ensure that there is food for Nigerians to eat. That's very basic.
Okay.
And thank God for the minimum wage. What can that really do? Because the federal government maybe will be able to pay it. Some state governments will not pay it. Private sector people cannot pay it because they don't earn it. So it is fact. So we have to, Mr. President has to think about how can we make sure there is food on the table. That's one thing.
One thing that you can do.
The second thing is healthcare. How are we going to make sure that primary healthcare centers work? And I know primary healthcare is not the federal government's problem.
But
you see,
and local governments.
You need to have the conversation. And then we talk about education.
It's very important.
Now, if we can even look at how to ensure these three things, because you are seeing graduates that cannot do one sentence of subject, verb, object.
It's ridiculous.
So it's even to look at the education and ask ourselves, what kind of education should we be delivering?
Now, I mean...
so that we can create entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So because of the issues that you raise, clearly those are issues, and I agree that, human capital development indices are critical. I have advocated for that. But the other thing that we also need to discuss, Ibim, is that those things actually fall within the remit of the states. Of course, federal government also has responsibility there, but the states, for the most part, how do you think the states and the state governments and their governors, how do you think they are taking the issues of healthcare and education seriously?
You are so correct. You are so correct that it falls within the purview of the state. Federal government has a role in terms of its policies, okay? And the conversations that I had. Those people come into meetings, okay? So they have that role. And yes, I agree with you. At the level of state governments, what are they doing? What should they be doing? Because monies get to them.
Right.
And so I agree that state governments need to sit down and look critically at what they're delivering to their people. Again, Rivers State had the misfortune of ranking terribly with regards to education at the last review that
with all the resources that goes to Rivers State.
With all the resources that go to Rivers State, sadly. And I remember that Governor Siminala Ifubara did talk about that and say that he was therefore declaring an emergency in education. And it's really pathetic to have a state like Rivers have issues around education. It's bothersome for me as a Rivers woman. Yes. Now, the issue of poverty, the poorest of the poorest of the poor, as long as there is poverty, you can't have any conversation around development. All right? Because Nigeria is in such a state that we're getting poorer by the day. The economy is Mr. President's headache.
Yeah.
It's his headache.
Yeah, for the most part.
It is his headache. So he's got to ask himself, what kind of monetary and fiscal policies are coming out of my government? Yeah, the other day I was listening to CBN governor. I was talking about moving basis points to this and to that and to that, basically telling me that he's increasing lending rates. And that's the thing.
Well, so
in terms of the economy,
that is meant, to curb inflation. They say.
We hope.
Yeah.
Really? Really?
Well,
which of the economic indicators are? Everything is up in the air. You know this. When you want to deal with the economy, there are two things you do. You either handle the interest rates or you handle the foreign exchange regime. Everything is up in the air. whether it is interest rates or it is the foreign exchange rate. Everything is up in the air.
It's a very tough situation that we're in.
So monetary policy is ding dong. And we're literally asking ourselves, where are we headed?
Interesting. Now, it's good that you also mentioned the example of Rivers State. So I wanted us to use that, to have a quick discussion around the conduct of the Nigerian political elite. Ibim, I am really worried that it seems, for the most part, our political elite don't seem to understand the times that we are in. The difficulties that people are going through. And if they do understand it, they are not showing in their own attitude, the way they spend money, the kinds of perks that they show off. Look at what is going on. Look, the FCT, spent another 20 billion to build a new residence for the vice president. Hey, at a time when Nigerians are going through this kind of hardship, that's when you are spending 20 billion more to build a house for Mr. Vice President. Now, my point is that what will it take the Nigerian political elite to demonstrate some in the way they spend, in their attitudes, in their lifestyle, to demonstrate some austerity measures so that people can see that you are not just asking us to tighten our belt while you are loosening yours?
It's very sad, Lolu. Honestly, I thought that it was a lack of discretion to actually be building a house for Mr. Vice President at this time. First of all, is that he doesn't need a house. The guy has a house. He has his own house.
And there's an official residence.
Right? So he has his own house. He's not carrying this house back with him when he finishes in 4 years.
Of course. It's not possible.
What is it? What does he need it for? In terms of need, is this a need? What does he need it for? If you didn't think he had enough space for his family can stay in his house and he can move into the VP's residence if he must. And that's really the problem. And then you ask Nigerians to understand with government. How can I understand with a government that appears to be frivolous in expenditure? You buy new private jets. Okay, so if we don't have enough private jets in the presidential fleet, then we can pay first class and take the first 10 seats for Mr. President and keep only him in the first class cabin if he needs to fly. How many times does he fly in a year that requires us to spend the kind of money we spent on a private jet at this time of austerity? If we had the money, by all means, we can buy him a private jet and even buy him a house in the sky. We don't have the money. We're very poor people. I don't understand. We're poor people living like we're rich. That's the problem we have in Nigeria. We're so poor, we're living like we're rich. The average Nigerian politician thinks that it's okay to flaunt madness in the faces of Nigerians. So they're having drinking parties at this time, really?
And they are showing it off.
And then they expect people what is there to understand?
They deliberately put it in the social media.
Put it in our faces. You're just saying to us, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
That level of insensitivity.
It's insensitive. And the problem is, I guess it's because the Nigerian people, they treat us like a conquered people. They treat us like they are kings who went to war and they got us as their entitlement post-war. We're not loots from war. We're the ones who hired them.
Yeah.
We're their bosses. We hired them with our votes. We pay their salaries with our taxes. And somebody needs to begin to understand that. They are hirelings. And I hate to sound that way, but that's the truth.
Well, it's quite an issue. But Ibim, I have to ask you. So you served as you were former MD of NDDC. Now, based on your experience in the office and the purpose for which that commission was set up, what will you say the lessons that you learned? What are your reflections in terms of whether that agency, which he has been on now, I'm sure, for probably about 2 decades or thereabout.
Much more.
Do you think that that agency is fulfilling its mandate? Do we have any kind of transformation, or have we even started the transformation of the Niger Delta that agency ought to be championing?
You know, Laulu, sometimes I don't want to talk about the NDDC because I don't want to be misunderstood as making a judgment call, considering that I served there and someone should also be making a judgment call on me. But I'm going to speak honestly from my heart, because the Niger Delta is the region I come from.
Yeah.
And I don't think God makes mistakes when he places you in a place.
Absolutely.
And so I'm very passionate about the region. In any case, I don't have anywhere else to go to. Not only am I from the region, I married a man from the Niger Delta, and that wasn't my intention. So I can't even escape the region right now.
It wasn't your intention to marry? That's another story.
That's another story. So I can't even escape the region. So, but here's the thing. Can the NDDC do more? The answer is yes. Does it do enough? The answer is no. And the reasons are very, and I'm going to be honest about the reasons.
Please.
The truth is this. First of all, is that the NDDC, at some point, people thought the NDDC was a political ATM. So if I appoint you MD of NDDC, if I appoint you MD of NDDC, then it means that you become my ATM machine, and everybody who is a member of the party should be able to come into your office
and collect
and leave. And as they are leaving, they must leave with a piece of the pie. And that's sometimes the problems those who are managing directors of the commission face.
How to deal with.
Because when you say no, then you are not considered a good person. Every MD will tell you that the minute you arrive, people come with different proposals. Whether the proposal is in the master plan or not, is in the budget or not. So yes, if you're an acting MD like I was, you're able to say no. Because you're an acting MD.
Yeah.
And because you know that I'm acting, I can cuckoo go. If you are ready to go, you don't mind.
It's easier to do the right thing, really. But
it's not that easy for every MD.
That's true.
It's not. And even for you, who is saying no, don't forget that the political arrangement is that someone nominated you. So even when you say your no's, there are some places where you say the no in a muffled tone. Say no, please, no. You know, and you're not able to say it very loudly. So, yeah. But there's also the responsibility that you have. So I understand this. But then you take a position and you must ask yourself, again, this issue of legacy. What legacy do I want to leave? You must be willing to bite dust so that you can leave a name.
Sacrifice.
When I was made commissioner, my father said to me, if you get there, you could either make money or make a name. If you make money, you will never make a name.
Good advice.
If you make a name, maybe someday, somehow you'll make money. So when you get a position, you too, who is an appointee, must ask yourself, do I want to make a name or do I want to make money?
Yes, thank you so much, Ibim Semenitari, for coming to Inside Sources.
Thank you, Laulu.
And thank you for your services, first as commissioner in Rivers State and also as acting MD of NDDC. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your voice and your insight that you have provided and that you always provide. Thank you, Laulu. And I hope that, I really hope that our country gets better every passing day. Yeah. And I think it's possible. I just hope that all of us who are privileged to either be elected or appointed understand the need to leave a legacy. Absolutely.